Happy CP. Happy CPI. Happy CPI day. All right. Well, this is interesting. Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, October 13th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream, where we attempt to make sense of what's happening day to day in the ES and the NQ, looking at the two-way auction process. So why don't we start with that? What's happening within the two-way auction process? Well, first and foremost, the market is in a very large downtrend. Okay, the market has been consistently making lower highs and lower lows right up until yesterday, where we had a day where the market was inside the previous day. So that's neither bullish nor bearish. It just means the market wasn't ready to continue the trend yesterday. It was looking for more information. That could have meant it was the beginning of the market going sideways and trying to push higher right up until CPI came out this morning. Obviously, the numbers were worse than expected, which means the chances of the Federal Reserve continuing to raise interest rates are high. And so the market freaked out. So what do we got this morning when we go into the market? Well, we've got a continuation of that momentum. So that's the first thing we need to recognize. The bears are in charge of the market. Okay, and they are still in charge. But often when the market creates a gap, it tries to fill that gap. But it often can't fill a gap that is this large on the first day. But we have a gap in the futures, which I've only seen once before. And it immediately went back up and backfilled it. So we've got ourselves a very interesting situation here this morning. Obviously, overnight inventory is net short, so I'm expecting some kind of counter auction to the upside. I don't believe we'll get to yesterday's low, but I think we'll try. But at the same time, I cannot fight this momentum. I cannot fight the new panic and the new sellers that may begin to step up into this market. So if we open and we cannot turn around and start to head back up and try to fill that gap, that will be a gap and go, which would be bearish for further downside continuation. And we'll keep an eye on the overnight low as a trigger for that. Other than that, it's kind of just a brace for a crazy day kind of day. So I can't predict what's going to happen. First order business is the gap fill. Can we get to yesterday's low? If we do we find resistance there? Good morning, Andy, Scooball, Joe Park, Nap, Caffeine, Jeremy Jones, Philip, Mark, T. Wark, Cortman, Ryan, TV, Chris, Fighter Pilot, Wanted, The Shaw, and Chillin' with Dylan. Welcome, everyone. All right, market is open. So the first order of business is, do we get new sellers down here, or do we try to fill the gap? All right, well, so far it's behaving like a gap and go. The next thing is the test of the overnight low. Can we get below 35.04? Also, if it's going to be a gap and go, we should stay below the opening price from here. Okay, we're testing the overnight low. Right now, our A period low is weak. Okay, the weak low is repaired. And now the question is, do we get new sellers below the overnight low, which would be bearish for continuation? Okay, so once again, they should stay below the opening price at 53.1350 now. Passing back through it is a sign they're heading up to try to fill the gap. All right, they're looking to try to fill the gap. So now the question is, does halfback become support, 35.08? Okay, so now we're looking for support here at halfback. If they're going to be able to keep trying to fill the gap, there should be buyers waiting here. Okay, right where we're testing right now. All right, no support there. Back to head down to the overnight low. And we're just going to keep playing this game here. We're going to keep trying to take it lower until we can either bring in new sellers down here for continuation or try to take it higher until we can create support in here for continuation. So push up, come back down, find support, try, push down, see if we get resistance. If not, come back up. We're just going to keep doing this dance until this sucker breaks one way or another. They love to make it hard, right, at key, levels. Screwball says the gap fill traders will panic at some point. I'm bearish. The short-term buyers are not getting anything. I disagree. They poked below the overnight low and they didn't panic. So I don't think they're panicking yet. T-Work, more likes, please. Yes, I concur. More likes, please. Somebody just went in for a big market buy. Bookmap says they're trying to turn it into support. All right, back to the gap fill play. Found support. Wasn't quite at halfback, a little bit below, but that's a good sign. The buyers are trying to fill the gap. Bookmap I just watched it play out too, like clockwork. This random big market order hit the order books, boom, out of nowhere. Somebody got in with a really large size, and then they immediately started putting volume in to try to scare the price higher, and it worked. So now let's see if they can keep it going. Can they flip the order books and bring in new buyers up here? Or were they just looking for a quick buck? Fighter pilot ticks nowhere near zero. They just made it. So now we find out, do new buyers continue to take the market higher, or do we run out here? Site, can you tell us some more about the future gap? Yeah, the futures gap is just the gap in the actual futures. It's just very uncommon, right? Gaps in stocks are normal because they open at a lower price because the futures traded in the overnight. But there's very rarely gaps in the futures. I mean, there literally just was no trading in there. It was empty. And that means it happened at such a quick, it happened in a fraction of a second. You know what I mean? And the computers couldn't even keep up. And so that's just a random anomaly that you would not see often. And so anytime there's a random anomaly, I want to mark it on the chart in case it comes into play later. But really, the gap that matters is the gap to yesterday's low. It's this gap here. And whether or not they can fill it. So now, I think Scooball's argument is beginning to come into play. Now we're starting to see, okay, wait a minute. That's twice now. The buyers have stepped in trying to take the market higher, and then they got pulled back below the opening price. So they pretty much have to hold this support now, because if they head back below the overnight low, all these buyers will panic, and we'll start to get a liquidation lower. So can the buyers bring in the support at 35.08 once more? Or was that it? Stay tuned. I actually haven't loaded the NQ yet this morning, so stand by. So there's no gap on the futures in the NQ, which is interesting. But there is a gap up to 10,805, which was yesterday's low. Massimo, thank you for the sub. Welcome. All right, buyers are defending once again, going for the gap fill. They just keep on trying. And we made it to 100 likes. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. All right, so what am I thinking now? I'm thinking gap fill as long as we stay above 3508. So I would say, and again, please note, as I put up this banner and you all start to freak out, please note this is a short-term idea. I do not believe the gap can fill. I don't believe we can actually get to yesterday's low, but right now they're trying to. So until I see a signal that they're done trying, my assumption is they're going to keep going. So I am bullish, but only on the very, very short term, as long as they are trying to fill this gap. And I will change my mind if they break this node of support here at 3508. Uh-oh. Window trader. No. It resets at 1 tick increments. Man, that's a big gap. Jeremy Jones, what is the market trying to do? It is trying to be undecided and it is doing a good job. No, that's the market doesn't try to be undecided. When the market is undecided, it's because it just can't decide. It's not trying to do that. It is always trying to do something, right? There's always a buyer who's trying to take the market higher or a seller that's trying to take the market lower. When it goes nowhere, it's because the two of them, because one of them beats the other one, or that because the other one can't beat the other one. You know what I'm saying? So this morning, the market wasn't trying to go nowhere. It was trying to decide. Are we going to try to fill the gap or are we going to continue and go lower? It chose to try to fill the gap. So all that chop was just them making a decision. Which way are they going to take it? And now they'll fill as much of the gap as they can until they run out of buyers, and then they'll come right back down again. Sorry about that, guys. Twice in a row. What's up, window trader? All right, so we're looking for support around 35.30. Okay, so with the printing of the B period, we've pulled the value area right up against the high of the day. That is a sign that we may need to do more business above that A period high. So we're looking for support and continuation of the gap fill. Robert, amazing history. We are all living together. Um, yeah, it's interesting times, to say the least. Okay. The B period, creating a, well, there you go, repaired. Which is more bullish? Seven seven. Too much excess. We need to balance it with price. Yep, that's what a gap fill is. The question is, can we? Can we get back to yesterday's low? Okay, do we get support here at 46? All right, no support there. Heading down to test the node at 39. Vitutus, pump it up, pump the jam, fill the gap. Look for sellers there. Pump it up. Okay, so those buyers are starting to run out of steam. They have been building a node of volume, pushing higher, building a node of volume, doing this continually. And now they just turned that top node into resistance. Now, that doesn't mean they can't just keep going. Of course they can. But it's worth noting they're starting to run out of momentum. So now, does it act as resistance once again? Here at 35.51. All right, they have the new buying. Gap fill still in play. Petrus, do you use the DOM? I do not. I'm looking at this one over here, basically just to see the total amounts of volume. But to be quite honest with you, I almost never actually look at it. I'm really more paying attention to just the colors on the book map. Nap, just for my educational purposes, this does not feel like a short covering rally. Well, no, a gap fill's not. It does. This does feel like a short covering rally feels, a little bit, but a gap fill or an attempt to fill a gap is a completely different thing. It's new buyers. It's not shorts getting out of their trades. It's new buyers getting in, trying to get to that gap fill. And so it's like, as long as you keep bringing in more, you can keep heading up there. But it's not a real trend, like a normal trend day trend, because as soon as they get to that gap fill, they all take profits and the market, boom, comes right back down. So is it similar to a short covering rally? Kind of, but it is completely its own thing that behaves in its own way. And right now, it is textbook gap and go. Gap fill. It is more unusual to fill a gap that is this large, but certainly not impossible, especially with this weird anomaly that we had in the futures. Like I said this morning, I've only seen this once before, and the last time it happened, we immediately came up and filled it. So that might be the gap they're going for. But anyway, let's just focus on momentum. As long as they keep bringing in new buyers, we'll assume they can keep doing it. All right, so I'm looking for some support around the A period high here, 35.46-ish. If that breaks, I'll be back to neutral, as this was a pretty good attempt to fill the gap. We created good taper, and we ran out of momentum on the ticks. So I'm with the buyers if they can take another stab at it. But if they start to head lower here, I'll be back to neutral. And honestly, be getting very bearish once we get back below the halfback. John, you've written support at 35.52, but you also have a note at 35.57. Does this latter node become resistance now that the price is below? Yeah, so that's the question, right? So now we got to, so the first order of business, we got to find support in here and then go back up and try again. Now, if it becomes resistance, then we'll be like, uh-oh, we're running out of steam. That happened earlier down here. But then it was able to get back through, boop, and continue higher. So if it can get back through, then yeah, they've still got the momentum. They can keep going. But we must just observe, does that previous support become resistance? So the first step worked. The support held. So now we're going to go test. Does that become resistance? Adrian, why does the gap need to be filled? Oh, the best question ever. If you can answer that, I'd be thoroughly impressed. Sometimes there are just random anomalies in life. Human beings are weird, man. I guess if you wanted to oversimplify it, you could just think about the fact that the market is always looking for two-sided trade. It's always looking for a place where it wants to do business. And if we immediately broke from yesterday's low and headed all the way down there, probably there's still people who want to do business up here, right? So the market's really just coming back to give those traders who didn't get a chance a chance. Pavel, I'm so sorry to hear that, man. Never heard anybody refer to the market as a whore. Listen, if you invite the market into your hotel room and you leave the cash on the table, the market is going to take your cash. That's so funny. But anyway, I'm sorry to hear it, man. I agree. Take the day off. Reset, refresh. All right. Well, with this support breaking, I'm back to neutral and ready to get very bearish very quick. If the market breaks back down below 35.32, That is the halfback. You could think about it like a Fibonacci 50% retracement. So if there were traders that were too scared to look for the gap fill here, they see the market go all the way back up, they love to get in at a 50% discount. So there could be buyers waiting here. But man, gaps that are this big is a sign that the momentum is to the downside. So I'm neutral now and waiting to see what happens when we get there. What would get me bullish is pushing back above 35.56, that node we were just talking about that has now become resistance. If we can get back above that, turn it into support again, I would get bullish once again. But until then, I got to see what happens at the halfback here. Pavel, I'm definitely not going to trade today. 4 months as if I didn't work. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm lecturing you. We've all done this. We've all let ourselves take it too far and lose more than we really should have. But if $50,000 is 4 months worth of work for you, you should have never ever risked that on a trade, right? The only way you should be risking, the only way it should even be possible that you lose $50,000 is if you have like, a $2 million account or something like that, where it's a tiny, tiny portion of your account. But if $50,000 is a lot of money to you, you were just risking way too much. And again, I know it sounds really like annoying to hear, and you're going to be like, fuck you, Charles. But the truth is like, just don't ever risk more than 2% in any trade. This literally cannot happen to you. If you have a rule that you never risk more than 2% in any one trade, and say 3 losing trades in a row, you stop for the day, you literally cannot lose more than 6% on your worst possible day of trading. It's literally impossible. You can never lose more than 6% if you have 2 simple rules. One rule, I never risk more than 2% during a trade, and 3 losing trades in a row, I stop for the day. Like, just 2 very easy rules could have prevented this from happening. So use this as a learning opportunity, as painful as it may be, to create those rules for yourself and never, ever, ever break those rules. Once you make the rule, once you observe a behavior and you recognize a pattern and you learn from a mistake, don't ever make that mistake again. And I would hope other people in the chat can also use this as a lesson. Protect yourself, protect your risk, so that you can protect your psychology and your mental capital and stay in the game and keep going. Pavel, I didn't risk more than 2%. but the messages turned off my broker and couldn't get out of the position. Yeah, well, that's unfortunately another lesson that just has to be learned the hard way, you know? You're going to have to find a new broker where you can get access to that no matter what. If your internet is down, you can use your cell phone or whatever, you know? If your cell phone is down, you can use a landline to call them on the phone and get out. Okay, things starting to get a little bit bullish here. I still have the same opinion. I would have to see them get above 56 and then turn it into support. Otherwise, I think we'll just get the tick slapped down again and pull right back down. But if they can get up there and get support, I would look for, another gap fill. Or another attempt anyway. Kevin Mitchell, a good tip is to treat trading like it's your business. Track everything and hold yourself accountable. If your job is to make money and you keep losing, would you keep your job or be fired? It's a great point. It's also what separates a lot of prop traders from regular retail traders. Right? I'm talking about real prop traders that work at actual real prop firms. Is the fact that they have to, at the end of every day, whenever they have a loss, they have to sit down in front of their boss and talk them through the loss and explain, why did I take this risk? Why did I believe the trade was a good idea? Da 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 da. And the boss doesn't get mad at them for making mistakes. The boss forces them to look at it as a learning opportunity and to get better. And so, surprise, surprise, they have a much better success rate of people being able to learn to trade because they're doing their homework every single day and being accountable for their decisions. So you can do that too for yourself. At the end of every day, you just force yourself to explain every single trade you got in. Why did I get in? What was I seeing? Where was I wrong? What can I do better the next time? And you'd be shocked how quickly your skills will improve. Like an athlete watching game tape, baby. What gets measured gets managed. Kevin, my mindset is that I'm not a trader. I'm a professional loss taker. Yeah. I mean, that's what, if you go watch the trader doc video that I made, it's on my YouTube channel about Paul Tudor Jones. That's what he talks about. Stop thinking about pie in the sky. Stop thinking about profits and just worry about the money you have at risk. If you worry about that, the profits will come. But if you worry about the profits, losses will come. Oh, caffeine. No private live stream yet. Good call. I was so on the edge of my seat here waiting to see what the market's going to do. I forgot I'm supposed to bounce on y'all. All right, later, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for those 124 likes. It really does help out the channel, so it means a lot. And I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow morning. As far as where I leave you for the day today, unfortunately, it's one of those anything could happen type of days. So right now, they're trying to bring in the support to try to fill the gap, to try to get up to yesterday's low. It doesn't seem like they have what it takes, unless it happens right as I'm speaking. All right, so now if they can turn that node I was just talking about at 55 into support. So if the C period can push up here, break the initial balance to the upside, and then turn this into support, I would be bullish once again to try to fill that gap. Otherwise, I would just look for chop unless we break below the halfback, which is at 35.32. So in between here, just up and down and up and down. But if you break that halfback, then all of a sudden it's a gap and go, right? And new sellers could start to pile on. So things could get very, very bearish below that 35.32 level and very, very bullish above 35.56 if we can find support. Otherwise, we're just going to grind around until one of those two things happens. All right, thank you very much, and we will see you here tomorrow morning. Members of the brigade, let's frickin' ride. Ba-dum, ba-dum, bow. Wow.